This is lesson 4 from Nick Sarev's N8n masterclass. We're going to go through an N8n scenario that triggers a read from a Google Sheet of some data on prospects. We're then going to craft some pitch emails using OpenAI and update the sheet using the output from OpenAI. Finally, we'll create draft emails to those prospects and store them in the draft folder to send to the prospects. First thing that we're going to do is create a manual trigger in our test workflow. So open N8n and let's get started. Create a new workflow and add the first step, and then select trigger manually from the right-hand side. Then click the plus sign to the right of the trigger, and we're going to do a Google Sheet, select rows, get rows in sheet. In order to connect your credentials with Google Sheets, click on the right arrow, click on Create New Credential, sign in to the account that you want to put your Google Sheet in, and then follow the prompt and you'll be connected. Then click Save. Once you have a document, when you click these drop downs, you should be able to see the data that you've created. The sheet is in the description. There's a link to the sheet in the description. You can copy it, and it looks like this. It has some data on prospects that we want to send an email to. And at the far right, this is where the output of our OpenAI message is going to go. This will be what we gather together to create an email to the prospects asking them if they want to be a customer. Back in N8n, in your Google Sheets tab, you will look for a resource, which is Sheet Within a Document, Get Rows, and then the first thing that we'll actually grab on the right-hand side is our spreadsheet. Mine is called N8n Leads, and then the sheet is Sheet 1. And that's all we're going to do for that step. Click Test Step, and you'll see on the right-hand side we got 3 rows of data. Put a pin in this data so that we can use it in the next step. Click the canvas behind the form and click Save. Now we're going to add an OpenAI Message a Model node to our N8n scenario. We will use GPT-4o, and we'll create a system message that says you're a helpful, intelligent writing assistant. The second message will be a role of user, and the text is going to be all of this that's in the document in the description. The third message is going to be a role of user, and the text will be you dragging and dropping all of these in, or you can just copy and paste this from the document, but you can also construct each of these by typing brace $JSON dot name of field, which is the point of the lesson to get you used to JSON. So we're going to put an OpenAI module in our N8n workflow. Go to the right of the Google Sheets document, click on the plus sign, go to AI, click OpenAI, and click Message a Model. To create a credential with your OpenAI account, click on the Create New Credential, and then you'll go to the link that is in the description for OpenAI. You'll go to platform.openai.com/API keys, create a new secret key, add it to the form that opens up when you create a new credential, and save it. Once you're connected, you also have to ensure that your account is funded. The instructions for that are in lesson 2, which is linked in the description if you want a step-by-step. The next thing we're going to do is choose our model, which is GPT-4o. The first message is a user message. You are a helpful, intelligent writing assistant. Click Add Message for the second message and make it a system role. Then copy, and your task is to personalize an email. And this is going to go all the way down to this JSON. So it goes from your task is to personalize an email. This subject line, hey name, think I have something. These braces are single braces, so they're just a hint to OpenAI that we want it to substitute in its answer. They're not N8n variables, which are represented by 2 braces on either side. And finally, this ends with the JSON that we want it to use when it outputs the data. The third message is a role of user, and we're going to drag in or construct the following. So I'll show you how that works. I'll just pull these in, and then I'll show you what the point of the lesson is. So we're going to go back to a user message, and we'll say title, description, etc. So in this case, what Nick would like you to learn here is that when you type open angle, sorry, not angle, but curly brace, and then type JSON dot, you'll be given the pop-up of the possible fields. And so you can just select from there, but you can also type it in. So if you want to do this more quickly than just dragging, you could hit dot and then full name. And you could then take the open curly braces up through the .json and put that in your paste buffer and say dot civility, close, and open, well, we already have that in our paste buffer. So brace $JSON dot, let's say company dot LinkedIn. And then what you'll see here is that because there are spaces in company space LinkedIn, that the entire phrase is inside single ticks, which are then inside square brackets, and then we end with the curly bracket, double curly bracket. The full name is incorrect because of the case. That should be in uppercase. So anything that's still red is a typo, and that will help you see that as well. So if we take, if you want to learn the lesson intended, then type all of those out. Or if you don't want to, then just copy from the source doc. Now that we have our third prompt in, the last thing we need to do is output as JSON and then click a test step and then pin the OpenAI output. Let's make sure that all of our data looks good. It's all green. Okay. We're going to output as JSON. Then we're going to test the step and then we're going to pin the output. And what you want to see here is that we got 3 records back, which corresponds to the 3 records that are in our test data. That's the data that we're going to, in the next step, fill in these fields. In the next step, we will update rows in Google Sheets. So we'll add that node to our workflow now. Back in N8n, click the canvas behind your form, click the plus sign to the right of AI, start to type Sheets, get Google Sheets, then look for update or update a row in a sheet, and now you have an update. If you should already have a Google Sheets account because we did that in the first step. So we can choose our spreadsheet and then choose the worksheet within by choosing N8n leads in sheet 1. Now the next thing we're going to do is match on a column, and we're going to match on the email column because that's unique. The email that we want to match, we're going to pull in from the previous Google Sheets run, and that would be this email here. Now, apparently, we have to fill in every single one of these fields because when we update summary, industry, location, when we fill in subject line, icebreaker, elevator pitch, call to action, and PS from OpenAI, if we don't also fill in all these fields, they'll get erased. So we're going to add our JSON from our read of this sheet back into our output to this sheet, our update of this sheet. So in this case, because we're going more than one node back, OpenAI was the most previous node, we need to use this extended JSON notation. Curly brace, dollar, and then what is the thing that we're referencing, because it's not the most recent, and then .item.json, and then the field name, civility. So you can imagine that first name is going to be just like that, except the difference will be that it is first name. And the reason that this doesn't light up is because I need to actually select expression. As long as it's green, we know we got it right. So you're going to do that for every step along the way here. Last name, click expression, type last name, curly brace, full name, curly brace, select expression. So you'll do that for all the rest. When you're done filling in the Google Sheets field, use the OpenAI output to fill in the email fields. If you've saved your scenario and you're looking at an icon, right-click and click Test Step. If it's still open, then click Test Step from within the sheet, the form. And over on the right, you should see that you have your data output. My data does not have, oh, it looks like I missed first name. My data does not have the output, and so we're going to figure out why. So I went and I told you to put the OpenAI fields in the output, but then I went and used Google Sheets. So let's fix this. The subject line should be coming from OpenAI, icebreaker from OpenAI, elevator pitch from OpenAI, call to action from OpenAI, and PS from OpenAI. Test step. Now our subject line, icebreaker, elevator pitch, call to action, and PS are filled in. And in fact, it's interesting that our title is missing, but the subject line, icebreaker, elevator pitch, call to action, and PS are filled in. And we know we didn't fill in title description because it's been wiped out. So here are the data. Here is the data that we need in order to create our emails. Now we can set up our Gmail draft using the data that OpenAI created to create draft messages of emails to our prospects. So we're going to add a draft Gmail to our N8n scenario. Click the canvas, click the plus sign to the right of Google Sheets, go to Gmail, look for draft, create a draft. The subject is the subject line from this time from Google Sheets. We want to grab it from Google Sheets because in the future, when we run this, OpenAI will be out of the picture, and then we can run the 3 records that are in our sheet anytime that we want, and we don't need to run Google or OpenAI again. So the subject is what we stored at the end of our sheet here, which is subject, and the type is text, and then the message is going to be, oh, I didn't write it down. It's going to be the icebreaker followed by a return, and then the elevator, unless I want to select everything, and then the elevator pitch followed by a return, call to action followed by a return, and then PS, and then the PS field. And we don't have to do the N8n attribution removal on this one, so we can click test step. And let's go look at our email. Okay, so in our draft folder, we have an email. Hey, Alan, think I have something for you, Rescalable Systems Innovations. I know you're leading tech innovations at Technova, and I've been following your journey from Silicon Valley to France, so I figured it made sense to chat. The TLDR, I think I can add about $5K a month to Technova scalable systems projects with a few automated solutions. I just did this for a similar IT company, and we hit 28,350 in a few months. They also focus on AI and cloud solutions, so I am very confident. We could, at this point, edit and click send, and it would go to alanwu@example.com. Emily Smith, I just did this for a very similar design company. John Doe, I just did this for a very similar digital company. And Alan Wu, I just did this for a very similar IT company. So 3 records, all processed according to their scraped information in our Google Sheet. That was lesson 4 from Nick Sarev's wonderful N8n Mastery course.